Hades, indie cult classic roguelike. I suppose it's an ARPG in its own ways. Probably less on the RPG aspect. A game where you fight your way out of hell to escape to the surface for reasons that are totally logical, but in the end, but you're still trapped. So it's kind of like the game justifies the game with the endless loop by having a sort of a small positive at the end. Depending on how closely you follow the story, and if you listen to all the dialogue, of course. But it does, it has that sort of bittersweetness about it in the story, and all your character interactions and all these sorts of things. They all sort of build up to it, but ultimately, it's a great game. I mean, highly recommend. Everyone's recommended it. It's very highly reviewed. The combat's really, really good. The art style's really good. It has the foundations of a great game. A little light on features. Okay, so I think it's a great game, and I do recommend you buy it. I mean, that's just a given. I'm on PS5. It looks great. It's phenomenal. Works perfectly. Same on PC though. I haven't had any issues, technical issues or anything like that. Really excellent game. Visibility in combat can be sometimes you're not sure why you got hit. That has a lot to do with, uh, you know, just the visual cues for enemy swings and things, which they're fine in some situations, and then in some boss fights they're not as obvious. And they can be a bit close in, and depending on what abilities you're using, what weapon you're using, you can sort of obscure it yourself with your own attacks. So there is a bit of visual clarity, as there is in every ARPG. So or any sort of roguelike games as well. There's issues with visibility, but it's not. I don't feel like totally destroyed by it. Like it's not too punishing. Early on, you know why you're dying because you haven't got all the upgrades. So you got to get all the darkness, get all the upgrades on the mirror, and you have your whole list of extra things that help you with your runs. And as soon as you get 3 revives, you're pretty much there. You can go the whole way, and you're just sort of getting to know the bosses that you find challenging. There's a lot of repetition because it's a game with a dungeon loop, so it's a dungeon crawler really, and you go through the same areas again and again and again and again, and fight similar enemies. And the enemies do have variety through the different areas, so there's slightly different challenges, but nothing too crazy. The worst is the shield enemies, and you just got to attack them from behind. And depending on what weapon you use, that can be slightly more annoying. And then one of the bosses has a shield in the 2 boss versus you fight. So that's kind of the only real, I suppose, the most challenging thing I think early on. And then the final boss fight with the main character you fight at the end, that can be one you just have to get good. Basically, Soul's reference, just understand their attack patterns and not get hit as much, and if you got any resurrects left, any revives left. Once you got 3 revives, then you get the lucky tooth. You can have 4 revives in total, and once you get to that point, if you got 3 revives, you'll be fine. Just patience, and depending on what build you go, there's a lot of build variability, which is part of the replayability of the games, that you did get different boons, different abilities, and you meet different Olympus gods that give you different choices for your normal attack, your special attack, your cast, and your dash, and then your ultimate ability. So you get the variability through the runs, but you will find abilities you prefer, so you'll probably just try and stick to those. And again, I do switch weapon each time, but because I go the one with the positive extra darkness thing, even though it doesn't matter at this point. So visibility can be an issue. It is repetitiveness. That's just inherent in the game. So everything looks pretty good, but it does, there could be more variety. Again, they're making the second one so that all the things that are different about the new game, in what I've read about it and what they've shown, is that they're addressing some of the things that limited this game, which is understandable when you build a game and you don't want to be too expansive too early. So the second game they're going to have more variety in areas and more areas, and they're going to have magic and all sorts of stuff with that. So adding more variety to the destinations, the locations, locales, which is just an obvious thing. Um, the other point is once you beat the game, once you beat a run, you escape. You can do like a customization, so you can change, how strong the enemies are, how much health they have, how much damage they do, and things like that. Not as fine tuned as I would like. Like it doesn't. It's all just a list of negatives you can add on, but they could be a lot more precise. I feel like there could be positives and negatives to it. So like you could reduce the enemy health, so that but it only just adds enemy health. There's no reducing the enemy health, so you should be able to actually have a balance between. You could make it that the enemies have extra heart health, so the immunity thing. So you've got to hit them 3 times before you can actually hurt them. You could have that they have maybe like 50% less health, so it's really just knocking down those hearts. That's what you got to do, and then you can kill them easy. And you could balance it out so much better if they allowed you to do the negative side, and it'd be honestly much better. So it's like just there's you could reduce enemy health, you could reduce your own health, you could reduce their damage, you can make it easier for you. And I feel like the game, which I hope they add in Hades 2, it lacks this customization which just seems to fit. Like they offer half of it, so they offer a list of things that's half as much as what I think they should have done. It's kind of strange. I think, why wouldn't you offer? They've got like a freaking god mode in the options just for people who need it, like a sort of god mode. But I think from the start too. I mean, you can reduce rewards, you can change rewards. In this game, you probably don't even need to change rewards at all. Really, I wouldn't worry too much about it. There's so that in terms of accessibility, you could just say have a god mode in a game and then it's accessible to everyone. But I think I totally disagree with that notion. So I think they could have done a lot. They can do a lot more with that accessibility side of things, and just reduce enemy health, or you could even remove certain kinds of enemies. Like just removing the shield guys would make the flow of combat completely uninterrupted. You wouldn't have to worry in the third section. You wouldn't have to worry about them, and I think it wouldn't change the overall game too much because again they're only a small part. But just giving you options about removing certain kinds of enemies, some of them that hit you with like a stone petrify. Those things are annoying. The hands when they get the chains on you and they restrict your movement, that sort of stuff, they're not fun. Those mechanics, stun, restricted movement, that sort of stuff is not fun at all in this game where you move around. And honestly, I dash around like crazy. So my problem is I dash too much. The game is built around you don't have to actually dash that much, but I just dash all the time. Instead of moving, I just dash. Yeah, so customization could be a lot better. Your upgrades, I feel like they could have been. There's individual weapon upgrades you get sort of midway through, and there's the upgrades to your runs. I think they could have been able a lot more. So I kind of feel like the details. I feel like when I play this game, as soon as I walk around the hub zone, it's abundantly clear to me that this is like Disgaea. The hub area is pure Disgaea, and that's a good thing. I mean that Disgaea is quite strong in that regard. So I do want to show you what I mean. It's really, I did have the same exclamation marks. So you got the characters standing around. You've got the different areas. You got your chef thing. So you got your kitchen. But you don't get to. There's no food buff system, which they could have added easily. I think that was something they could have done. And you've got your locked doors and things. And you've got your characters you can talk to and all that sort of stuff. So it's basic. There is a relationship system where you build, a relationship and you can get a special item out of it. It's just sort of, honestly, the relationship system it's just a bit tedious. I want me to go lie down, which will trigger a thing. So you have your book with all your information. You can learn all about all that stuff. Blah 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 blah. I just wanted to show you. So each of the characters you meet has like a relationship thing where you give them hearts. So I'll show you a full one so that you know. So Karen here. So you have to give them the nectar, this special drink, and then you get 1 heart. And then you have to do that. Oh, well, 6 times, and then you got to give them ambrosia, which is a rarer liquid, and then you can get the full friendship with them, and then it upgraded version of your relic, or it just makes your relic special. And also gives you other things, other opportunities open up to you. So that's the training rod. So this is just the combat. I just dash all the time and then just attack, and then I'm going crazy, and then, you know, get the bow when you're going crazy and shooting around there and all that stuff. And then so the shield's really good, Captain America style. So yeah, just basic combat sort of stuff. You just move around and attack and move and move and move and move and move and move. And there's a bloody gun or something. Alright, let's do nothing. So yeah, it's very fast-paced action combat, which is great. You know, it works really well. It's really addictive, the combat part. So I feel like so he talks about it in the, you know, the dialogue stuff. It's supposed to be a labyrinth that changes, but it doesn't change enough. In my book, it is so repetitive. The boss is repetitive. I find, like, if anything, they could have removed the bosses. So I would have been happy. So this is what they can add in the second game. So this is the sort of speculation part. They could add endless, because the game does take a lot of points copying Disgaea, where you have your core mechanics and then you can build features around that. They can add features like Disgaea did. So they can actually straight up look at what Disgaea has done over the years and just take some of the best features. And I feel like there's a lot, because they're adding magic in the next game, they'll still, you know, do the same sort of system, but there's a fair bit they can learn if they want to, of course. And just in the way that the hub world interacts, and a lot of stuff you can do. The judge and jury trial thing and all that stuff. There's a lot more. I mean, there's no judging the souls, or there's a lot more depth you can add to this game and this world. And I feel like the world is very, very narrow. It's all from, you know, Zagreus, your main character's perspective, and he doesn't really see this world as like anything other than just a little prison, and you're just trying to escape. But it's like you're traveling on one line, and there's like a whole world around you that you're totally ignoring. So, and then your main guy has a job, but I don't know what it is, and no one ever explains it. He's the successor to the main guy, but you know, the big cheese. But they never say actually what he does, so he really doesn't do anything. He doesn't have any responsibilities at all at this moment. So I kind of feel like there's a bit of weirdness about that. Like so the depth of the world is very shallow. You're just about the characters' depths, and, you know, each of the ones you meet, you talk to them each time you talk to them after you've died in the thing, or you've beaten it. You come back and they say different stuff, and they've got like a list of dialogue that they'll say, and then sometimes it's out of order. So like you've gone too far from them to expect you to have gone that far just yet, and then they talk about things further back, and then they sort of catch up the next time you die, even if you died unlucky earlier. So there's a bit of, you know, not quite perfect management of the dialogue, but you can help. You know, you can't help that. People go too far or progress outside of the expectations, and the dialogue doesn't match it. It is what it is. But in terms of the depth of the world, I feel like there could have been more hub areas. They could have had, you know, you could have checkpoints. You could have teleporting to the third area. You could do all sorts of stuff. You need more content, more. Like, honestly, they could just do a tall tower with 100 levels. And, you know, at level 50, there's another hub. Or, you know, and then it's harder. Or you could do so much stuff. You could do so many ideas, like freaking Sword Art Online's tower. You could just copy straight that sort of idea. There's so much you could do with this game because the core fundamental combat is so solid. Apart from, you know, some visibility issues here and there. But it is so solid and so satisfying that you can build so much out of it. So it's a wonderful thing, really, that I hope that Hades 2, you know, they don't stray too far, you know, integrating magic in and how that works. Will be interesting to see how that sort of fits. Because a lot of the weapons, even the ranged ones, they really just feel like long spears. Like the gun's really just shooting long spears. So everything really feels like a melee weapon. like the rockets, probably the special ability on the guns is the only exception, I think. And you throw the spear, but it's pretty shit. But I think some of the ways that you can, the randomness of your runs can be positive and negative, so you can miss out on the best upgrades, the best hammer ability, so it changes the nature of your weapons, of your primary and your special weapon, and I feel like that sort of determines your run. If you get that at the start, that can really, 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 really help. And if you don't get any hammers, then you're in trouble. And you can, go on the wall and the mirror and get chances increased of them, but still not run into them. So there is a bit more, so much room for customization in terms of, you could pay a price to start with the things you wanted, or you could carry. I didn't understand. I beat the game. Escaped, and I thought, why doesn't it carry over? Some things you could carry over, like two abilities, two boons, not the your nature of your primary attacks, but the additive suffixes. So things that increase you know the damage you do just by a bonus of 10% for your attack, special, and cast. Or like whenever someone hits you, you inflict like doom, which is a status effect thing, which it does a one-time damage on an enemy after a short delay. I kind of feel like they could look at, I mean, looking at it through this lens, you're not looking wide enough. You could look at this game and go, you could apply Escape from Tarkov to this, which is you go through and you escape, which like you do in Tarkov. So like you do in this, you escape at the end. Then maybe you should get rewarded for that. And then you like get on the streak of how many escapes you get in a row. You carry bigger bonuses, and you can actually make it even easier for yourself, and you just sort of steamroll through it, because you do have to beat the game 9 times, escape 9 times in order to get the true ending. So I just wanted to say that. But I feel like maybe that would encourage people to play even more, so they feel like they are getting rewarded for the time they've spent in there. So apart from just upgrading themselves on the wall, and they get sort of upgrades, that some of them are irrelevant, and others really to help more reses and stuff like that. And you could, I think, if you increase the replayability, and then you increase the variability of the maps and also the bosses, just full on, I feel like with the bosses, the rigidity of you do this many chambers and then you run into a boss, the consistency of that, it works against the game, because I feel like if it was more variable, more random, that you could dodge them, or like it could take you longer, or it could take you shorter time. There could be a path. You could have, they could do a lot of stuff. They've already got freaking set area thing, so not too much variability there. It just changes what reward you get from each chamber you beat as you progress. But they could have set paths and secret paths and all stuff. But maybe they do and I haven't found them. Maybe I'm just shit. But you never know. It's kind of like, I feel like there's so much more interaction in each chamber that could be added. So much little things, secret things, and it is, you're loading scenes between chambers. So this isn't a just opens the door, you move on, like say Diablo 3, Diablo 2, Diablo 3. It's not like that. It's, you have to loading scene, then loading scene, then loading scene, then loading scene, and they're not too long again, because it's not too much to load in, because they're similar art styles, and it's that top down style sort of thing. But it's, I don't know, I feel like they could increase the speed of your playthrough and just have it load, like you connect 3 rooms and you just go through and the door opens, you go to the next one, and then you don't have the time lost because of the loading scenes. Now it's only a tiny bit of time, but maybe that just increases the speed of the combat and the fluidity. So things like, do they want people? You want people to go through faster, and keep enjoying the combat. You want them to go slower, be more considerate, and have to take their time. So with difficult enemies, or you want people to find a way around a secret route, or do you want them to take the slow way because they'll get more money and then they can get more upgrades? You give them the option of taking a shortcut, spending their in-game currency, which you get in the in the chambers, and you're on your mission, your escape attempt, you get a special currency, and you can use that. That only works in there. Give them a chance to spend for a shortcut, and then they've risked it. They've lost the loss of their money, and then maybe they won't be as strong when they get to the boss, and they have to rely on their skill. There's all sorts of different ways they can approach it, and I feel like just giving the option. At the end of the day, there's so much they could do in terms of customization. In the next one, because they've already made it, they're making it. There's so much they could do. They're going to do the testing, the beta testing before the full release, and then the community contributes. So that'll be really interesting to see what everyone's feedback and what they think is the way to go. Because I think at the end of the day, you can have a lot of people, a lot of opinions. I think you incorporate them all and you just make them options. I mean, as many as you can get, and just make it an option you can turn on and off. So people want, you start with 1 life, 1 health, insta death, 1 hit and you're down, permadeath. I mean, and your run's over, 1 hit. Fine, let them have it. And people want to be able to trade in there as, instead of having 3 revives, they want to have 3 times the health. And then you, as the designer of the game, you may know that actually it's better, or you're better off not doing that, because when you get revived, you get 100 health, but maybe you could change that, all that stuff. But I feel like there's so much more. You could offer more trade-offs, or just straight up options, and not just after you beat the game. I'm so sick of games doing this, and it really pisses me off that so many options things. Like the number one thing I'm doing now that I've beaten the game is just doing runs, but just having more enemies as an option, and just putting that on full. Because that's the only thing that I think actually matters. Is just having more enemies. That's good. So you get more money from killing each one, only a little bit of money. But that's what I think is good, and makes it more challenging, but not too overbearing. Not too punishing. I feel like that's kind of like something that should have been available from the start of the game, to be able to put in more enemies if you want. Because again, you get more money, you can get more upgrades. It's actually sort of helpful, and just for the feeling of the game. So why wouldn't you put as many enemies as you can if you're capable as a game designer? You want them to be able to fight a whole bunch of enemies. It's like, and then to have an option at the end, they could have fought more enemies the whole time. It's like, so I could have had way more, enemies killed and done way more stuff. It's like, it seems like a no-brainer to me. But, maybe I'm just being silly. I've talked for a little while here. I don't want to go too long, but I can't help it now. I'm going now. But yeah, customization, some of the visual stuff with the visual clarity. Story, bittersweet. So, I don't know. The thing about it is a loop. So you need it. I think the story ties into the loop really well, but there's just not enough. I suppose I have to get to the true ending. Yeah, I'm not going to worry too much about it. No. I'll say I hope the true ending has lots of hope and happiness, etc. But yeah, the next game. Oh, the final problem. The biggest problem with Hades. Okay. So I've talked about it doesn't have just a item world type thing where you can just go up forever infinitely going through chambers. So it's missing that from Disgaea just straight up. There's a lot more customization they're missing. There's a lot more ways you can integrate customization. You can do a lot more different stuff. And in terms of the hub area as well, there's a lot more they can do with that. And the world you're in, the depth of the world is very shallow. So shallow world. Need more customization. Need more with the hub stuff. More features. So, item world. Other ways they can integrate that. There's so many other ways. It's just, you could go down. Deeper into hell. Not escape. There's a whole bunch of ways they can do this. And interesting ways that they can use the world that they built. And I feel like they don't use it that well at times. I mean, it's just an afterthought because you're trying to escape, Your effect on the world is none, really. I mean, yeah, it's really none. And there's a bit of family dynamic stuff that I really think has no substance whatsoever. Because again, your main character has no responsibilities. So it's not like he's derelict in his duty, because he has no duty. He has no job in hell. He has no job. So he doesn't have subordinates and people who are relying on him. I don't understand why they didn't do any of that. That would have been much smarter. And they'd be like, oh, why are you trying to leave us, you know? And you could have more. There's a lot more they could have done on that side of that character development, emotions and things. But the biggest problem, I sort of dilly-dallied around it, pricing. The biggest problem with Hades is it's too expensive. Now, it's on sale at the minute, and this is January, December. So December now. But it's on sale on PlayStation Store. It's on sale on Steam, 50% off. And I feel like even at 50% off, I feel like I got what I paid for. I don't feel like I got like a bargain. Even though I've spent, I think we're 30% off on the, 35% off I think on the PlayStation Store, not 50% off on Steam. But I feel like the pricing it's just way too much. So I'll do it in Australian dollars. You can convert the currency if you want. So it's $50 Australian without discount, and then it's $30 on discount. So in comparison, so the full price $50, you know, Elden Ring $99. So it's half the price of Elden Ring for a tenth of the content. I mean, you know, it's just I think what's a good game to compare it to? I don't know. It's like it sort of started a trend with the roguelikes and using the art style as a way to try to optimize the game and so it performs better on things, even though that doesn't always stand true in roguelikes. But it's just too expensive. And that's why people, you know, you hear a lot of people go, oh, you asked, you know, the streamers and that, and go, if you played Hades, and they're like, oh, no, I haven't downloaded, or I kind of feel like the price point's a part of it. It's just it's too high priced for the amount of content in it, and the lack of customization. And I'm gonna, if you know, there's a lack. There's a freaking lack of customization. It's just there's base stuff here. I'm sure you can do it on PC and PC modding shit, but that I'm on console, so yeah, I can only do what the devs allow me to do. And yeah, I just for the 4 zones you go through, and then your final boss, it's really 3.5 or 3.25. Really, it's kind of a sort of a, you know, repetitive loop in the 4th area, and then you get the boss. For $50, it's just not it. There needs to have been, you know, another 3 zones and then the final boss, or you know, I just don't think it's worth that full price. On sale, yes, I totally recommend it. Full price, I mean, it's great combat, addictive combat. You can get it, you know, you can play it a lot, but you know, Vampire Survivors is better. I mean, there's no question about that. It's kind of like, but they're different games. This, you know, they kind of have, they've been put in a similar category, but they're totally different. But you know, Vampire Survivors is better, and it's only $3. I mean, $4. It's, I mean, not even. It's bloody cheap as shit, and it's, you know, and I played Vampire Survivors like 60 hours for a game that's like $3. So this is $50, and I'm pretty much done here, and I paid like, I think 12 hours. So yeah, it's just, if you got to this point of the video, let's be frank here, and you know, it's just too expensive. It's even at half price, or I think it's just a little bit too expensive. Not much, but just a little bit. So I'm interested in the pricing, because I feel like the next game's going to be more expensive. Kind of like that sort of hits me. Because they'll say they're going to add more content, add more features. Who knows if they add more features? We'll see. But you know, I kind of see them. I can see them just putting the price up. But then, you know, you could say Disgaea has never been cheap, and sometimes, you know, it goes on sale, but other times it's like freaking $99. Like Disgaea 6 is $99. Same as Elden Ring. Crazy, absolutely crazy. And you just, you know, they always take features out and do all sorts of weird stuff. It's kind of, they're weird. But yeah, so we have strong foundations, great game, good combat, really good combat. And, you know, you got all the variability of all the different gods' abilities. You've got the, you know, the Pact of Punishment stuff, which I think is just, it's a, yeah, this bit here. So I kind of, so, you know, I can go to 0. I can't go to negative, which again is just, I don't understand it at all. So here, this is, you can make the prices more expensive. You should be able to make them cheaper. So the point would be, you can make them cheaper and then have something else go up.
That's as much heat as I can get from this.
So look, you can get lots of heat. And then you could have, say, negative and bring back the heat. And you could, that way, control things in a way that you know, balances out the game a lot better. If for future playthroughs, when you're playing at this point, which again, you may not be playing at this point.
A fancy weapon there or what?
Oh, and also I'll just show you quickly there. You can customize the weapons.
You're revealing your past.
Honestly, though, I find all of the, only the first one of any value. So again, I haven't got the final upgrade on anything, so maybe the final one's good, but I just find them all garbage. So this one's, I mean, just straight up damage.
Grant me the aspect of chaos. All right.
Get the feeling I'm being watched.
That's a dumb ability. So lots of these abilities that you get, they're just stupid, counterintuitive. Really. That's okay, getting more ammo. But yeah. Tell me what you think. Do you think the game is worth $50? God, look at that. It looks totally different, doesn't it? Alright, let's just get that so we know what it looks like.
What kind of sorcery was that? Yeah, keep going.
I think I'll try this one.
So yeah. What do you think? We got the relics, which again, lots of them aren't that good. Again, I don't have these things yet. I don't know what they are. Oh, it's the summons, isn't it? So you can get like these summons from getting relationship up. So I've just got to get this guy here to bloody give me his thing. Ridiculous. But yeah, a really good game though. You know, I do recommend, highly recommend it on discount. Not a full price, but I mean, even then, I don't think you'd be worried about your purchase. You're not going to refund it, I'll tell you that. But I do feel like as soon as you start playing, it's hard to stop. But before that, I kind of like, what's the point? What's the point? Yeah, and it's just, you need more upgrades, you need more customization, you need more, you know, you could do all sorts of stuff with abilities in terms of the specific boons themselves. You know, you offer a really high price and you can permanently upgrade the rarity of specific ones, or you carry them over. I think carrying over, you know, when you actually get through a run successfully, I think would be really good. I think that's kind of like, that's just an absolute easy win. Easiest win you could do is you carry over some of the boons. Maybe just one. Or, you know, one or two. I mean, and it goes up. Say you get like 2 in a row, you can carry 2, and you get 1 each time, and then it builds up, and you become super powerful. I feel like there's kind of that idea is great. So yeah, steal that idea, developers. That's fine. Just fucking do that. Yeah. So that'll do. I've said a lot of good stuff. I actually surprised myself how good my stuff was. I'm joking. Or am I? But yeah, this has been Frosty Fire 10. Yeah. What do I give a score? Oh, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. And I can say that clearly because they're doing different stuff in the second one. So it's like they must not think that the first one was perfect. So yeah, you can't really give a you can't give a game perfect score when in the sequel they said they're going to do all the stuff they think was not good about the first game. Had more variety of environments and all this stuff, and add magic abilities and things and variability and stuff. And it's like, oh, they're getting building and building and building. So the game's only getting better. The franchise only gets stronger, and we'll see what happens. The relationship thing I think can be streamlined. So I think the having to give them like 6 nectars is just stupid. Like seriously, it's just incredibly dumb. There should be just 2 or 3 at max. It's just the 6 thing is just it's so stupid. I can't really I can't accept that at all. It's just don't do that. So it'll be interesting to see how they go forward. I know they're replacing all the main characters with women in the next one. Not all of them, just most of them. Which is fine. There's a predominant number of male characters in this one, and Aphrodite looks like a man. So, but that part of it, I think just it sort of balances out this one. This one is a bit of a husbando fest, and the next one will be the waifu fest. So we'll see how it goes. Nyx is still best girl. Thanatos, best character, favorite character. The tsundere, your friend, who I feel like his relationship with the main character is better than pretty much all the others. I feel like there is like a relationship, and then like he's got something going on with Meg, and it's like I feel like this kind of stuff that's underdeveloped is actually better than what they ultimately went with in the relationship dynamic stuff. But it's interesting. That's where the game is strong. Characters, I'll say that. Weak in terms of the story and world building, but that's just kind of you know his narrow view of the world, and we just sort of suffer for that. 8 out of 10. Roast out of 10. Like and subscribe. Dislike if you don't like the game. If you didn't like the game and you just quit it, you didn't read any dialogue at all. Listened to all the dialogue as I went through because I was streaming the playthrough, and so I did find that changed my perception of it built the characters up more. So if you did skip the dialogue, I wonder what sort of experience you would have had. I think much lesser experience. So yeah, that's kind of one of the things. If people don't have the patience to read or they listen to the dialogue, it may actually be quite painful. The voice acting's really good. I do want to say really, really good. Big tick. Everyone says mate a lot. Mate. So that's a good thing, I suppose. But yeah, tell me what you think. Do you agree, disagree? Yeah, happy times, bad times. It is what it is. Happiness. So yeah, Hades, 8 out of 10. Yeah. Buy it on discount. Alright, see ya. Bye bye. Catch you later.